What are the four saddest words? Randal Rauser wants to tell us, but I have a feeling it's not going to work out the way he wishes it would. Because we're going to smash through the theological walls of religion and invade their safe spaces and show that none of the things they believe are rationally justifiable at all. Because who would have predicted that, right? This week, we're back with another Randal Rauser video, and I think if you pay attention, you'll notice that he's got some theological points stuck in his craw, so much so that he's overlooking the biggest problems of his faith. But this is very typical stuff. When it comes to realistically looking at your beliefs, the lights are on, but absolutely nobody is home. This week, though, Rauser wants to tell us the four most depressing words he's ever heard. I've got another set that's worse, but I'll leave that till the end. Let's see what Randal has to say.
You know what the four saddest words are to me as an apologist for Christianity? That ship has sailed.
Well, whether you like it or not, it kind of has. Because when you look at it rationally, and I know these people are totally incapable of that, but if you have any ability to examine reality, the longer religion goes on, the less anybody with a brain takes it seriously. They're really down to fanatics and cultural Christians who believe because that's what they think their neighbors expect. Honestly, science doesn't support Christianity. History doesn't support Christianity. Common freaking sense doesn't support Christianity. And more people today are realizing that just because lots of people have believed it in the past, that doesn't mean that anyone should believe it today. So, sorry, Randal, but yeah, that ship has sailed.
See, those four words tell me a person who once was a Christian and who left Christianity for various reasons that I believe are ultimately illegitimate, such as they could not reconcile Christianity with evolution, and so they ended up rejecting Christianity because they believe neo-Darwinian evolution is true.
No, I believe Christianity is false. I don't have to believe evolution is true. Every shred of evidence that we have proves it conclusively. There is no belief. If you don't accept the undeniable fact of evolution, then you are simply wrong. And this brings up something else that I've kind of noticed about the religious. Everything is a belief. Everything is faith. There are no facts, or more properly, anything they believe strongly enough magically becomes a fact in their eyes. But that's not really how it works. See, it doesn't really matter what rationalizations you can construct in your head. It matters what is actually and objectively demonstrably true. Your feelings mean nothing. They never have, and they never will. I don't believe the earth is spherical, it just demonstrably is. My beliefs don't enter into it. I don't believe in evolution. I follow the objectively demonstrable evidence to the only conclusion that makes any kind of rational sense. I don't have faith that evolution is true. I accept demonstrable reality. But the religious, they don't work that way, do they? They see everything as belief and faith, not fact and evidence. How many times have you seen a theist accuse an atheist of having faith? They don't understand that we're nothing like they are. We do not operate on faith. We do not give a damn about belief. We are concerned with the facts, and unless the evidence supports a conclusion, we do not accept that conclusion. It's no wonder why it's so difficult to talk to these idiots. They aren't anywhere close to living in the same reality that we do. Which is kind of sad, isn't it?
And when you point out to them that, in fact, there is no incompatibility between Christianity and neo-Darwinian evolution, they say, well, that ship has sailed.
It's funny how many other Christian apologists will absolutely disagree with you, isn't it, Randall? Because that's what happens when your religion is laid out like a buffet. Well, I'll take some of this and some of that, and I don't like that, so don't give me any of that. It's just dumb when you think about it. So you've got large swaths of Christianity that says evolution is evil and God created everything in a literal 6 days. And then you've got people like Randall who say, yeah, what the fuck, go with whatever you want. For Christianity, there is no standard. It's believe what you want to believe because it makes you feel good. And no matter how you spin it, that's just dumb.
Or they left Christianity because they couldn't reconcile their faith with the doctrine of eternal conscious torment in hell for everyone who does not verbally profess belief in Jesus. And you point out, well, Christians disagree over the nature of hell or alienation from God, and they disagree over the conditions that must be met in order for a person to be separated from God. So that shouldn't be a reason to reject Christianity. And then, well, their response again is, that ship has sailed.
Because the whole idea of hell at all is reprehensible. But then again, all of Christianity is reprehensible, so I guess we shouldn't be surprised. It doesn't matter what this group of Christians or that group of Christians says. It matters what's in the Bible, and the Bible, whether you like it or not, is a book of horrors. How you spin it to make it look more palatable, that doesn't really matter. That you'd ever accept this stupid book in the first place does. But Christians like to think that when they selectively pick the parts that they're going to ignore, that actually makes those bits just magically go away. And it doesn't. They're still there in black and white. Just because you're playing make-believe doesn't make reality go away. So no matter how you spin it, you've still got a book that says it's okay to kill gay people, or that you ought to murder non-believers, or that rape and slavery is A-okay. And I'm sorry, but there's absolutely no situation under which those things are ever, or have ever, been fine. And if you've got your deity pushing those things, then your deity's a dick, and no amount of dancing around the facts is going to change that. I reject Christianity not because I'm attached to other things, but because Christianity is objectively awful. Prove me wrong.
Or they rejected Christianity because they couldn't reconcile themselves to the idea that God would command the genocide of entire populations, such as we appear to read in Deuteronomy 20, Joshua 6 and following, or other passages, 1 Samuel 15, and you point out to them that Christians have long wrestled with the biblical violence passages and in fact have offered a range of theological and hermeneutical options when thinking about those passages, many of those options which don't require them to accept that God did in fact commit what appear to be moral atrocities like genocide. Once again, the answer is that ship has sailed.
And if that isn't the most blatant example of religious rationalization and running around with the goalposts, I don't know what is. Because it doesn't matter what you think about the passages in the Bible. It doesn't matter how you interpret the things that appear in the Bible. It doesn't matter how you spin the narrative. It only matters. The only thing that matters is the narrative itself. It doesn't matter what you want to believe. In the Bible, it very clearly shows God commanding atrocities. It says God commanded the Israelites to go kill these people. So you're left with really two options. Either God is an incomprehensible prick that no one in their right mind should ever follow, or the Bible is wrong and you've got absolutely no reason whatsoever to believe anything about a God in the first place, including that one exists. The Bible proves that God is a douchebag. All the spin in the world doesn't change that. Why in the world would you bow down to this utter piece of shit? It makes no sense.
For me, as a Christian apologist, one of the most important things we can do is not place unnecessary burdens on the shoulders of people.
Why not? Because ultimately, people are responsible for the things that they believe and the things that they preach. You, Randall, are personally responsible for the crap that you put onto your channel. You are responsible for the things that you allow into your head. When it turns out that you have no logical, rational, or evidential support for your beliefs, that makes you look bad. It doesn't make Christianity look bad, it makes you look bad. You need to hold people accountable for their words and their thoughts and their deeds. When someone asks you why you believe a thing, you need to be able to produce a credible answer. Even your own silly book says so in 1 Peter 3:15. And if you look at the Amplified Bible, that passage says, in part, always be ready to give a logical defense to anyone who asks you to account for the hope that is in you. But you never see Christians capable of doing that, do you? It's all faith and belief and wishful thinking. Never logic, never reason, and never, ever, ever evidence. Why are you people so bad at this?
To make Christianity more difficult than it already is, because it is difficult. At the center of Christianity is the command to take up your cross daily and follow Jesus in a life of self-abnegation and denial.
And what is your logical reason for doing any of that? The only thing that is difficult about Christianity is maintaining a straight face when you talk about the silly things that you believe. It's mindless delusion, not reality. Of course, you have to pretend that Christians are victims when Christians hold an unbelievable amount of unearned and unjustified privilege and power over society. I was reminded of this recently when, at a grocery store that required masks to enter, a Christian just had to walk up to the guy at the entrance, say that she had a theological problem with wearing a mask, and she was allowed to go on her merry way. I guess now faith overrides biological reality. And then Randall has the balls to say that Christians are being oppressed. Yeah, like hell they are.
And when that's the center message of Christianity, the center of the ethic, the foundation of the Christian life, you don't need to make it more difficult by also requiring that people accept young earth creationism, or that they accept eternal conscious torment, or a particular view of Christian exclusivism, or a particular understanding of biblical violence.
Or that Jesus existed, or that God exists, or anything else, right? Because why would you make a Christian's life harder? Also, this is the second Randal Rauser video that we've looked at, and both of them have gone into these particular theological bugaboos. Now, it could just be a coincidence, I don't know, but it seems rather telling that these are the specific things that he chooses to keep bringing up. How does any of that really matter? Maybe he really does believe that people are rejecting Christianity over these relatively minor points. I have no idea. But I think the reality isn't that we're rejecting your beliefs over some minor theological disagreements, but because your entire belief system, start to finish, is completely absurd. I don't care about hell. I don't care about God being a dick. I care if any of the things that you purport to be true are actually demonstrable with objective evidence. Too bad none of it is.
So we ought at the outset not to make it more difficult by really thinking through carefully what mere Christianity is, so that if people are going to leave Christianity, they leave it for the right reasons. And so you never have to find yourself in the situation where a person leaves Christianity simply because they couldn't accept a particular version of Christianity.
I can't accept any version of Christianity whatsoever, because the very core of your beliefs, the one that really matters, it's all completely laughable. The things that you are required to believe with no evidence whatsoever are ridiculous. The fact that you people are arguing among yourselves over the most petty and minor differences and can't just agree that, well, this is what Christianity is, full stop, That just makes me roll my eyes. You haven't proven your case. If you could, you wouldn't need faith. You wouldn't need belief. You could just prove that you were right with objectively verifiable evidence. And it's kind of funny how that just doesn't happen, isn't it?
If they leave Christianity, they should leave it because they can't reconcile themselves with mere Christianity, not because they can't reconcile themselves with some particular substrain, some version of Christianity.
Okay, because I think that's what most people who leave Christianity actually do. But Randall's just making excuses. Or maybe he has a reason, I don't know. Maybe these specific examples come up a lot when he's talking to non-believers, if he ever actually talks to non-believers, which I think we all know the religious rarely do. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt because, hey, we're nice people. Maybe he spends a lot of time talking to atheists who bring these specific theological points up. Are we supposed to believe that those are the same atheists who aren't saying that all of Randall's beliefs are unjustified and unsupported as well? Because I find that kind of hard to believe. Or is he just ignoring that part and cherry-picking the bits that he can address in a video because we all know that he can't actually prove that God is objectively real like we would expect him to do? I don't know. It's kind of a curious question though, isn't it?
And then we can avoid those four saddest words that I hear as a Christian theologian when you point out that somebody had an illegitimate reason for leaving Christianity, and then their response is, well, that ship has sailed. Let's not allow those ships to sail.
Sorry, Randall, but that's not up to you. You don't get to decide what reasons are valid and what reasons are invalid. That's up to the individual. You don't have to like it, but you don't get to tell people that they're wrong because they're doing things that you don't like. You'd actually have to produce evidence that they're wrong, and evidence is not a tool in your toolbox. I reject Christianity and all religions really because the religious cannot produce evidence that their gods actually exist. I left Christianity because Christianity was not independently verifiable. Of course, I'm sure Randall would just ignore me because he's got nothing intelligent to say in response. No theist does. Instead, he wants to quibble over irrelevant minutiae instead of addressing the major problems on his plate. He thinks that the four saddest words are, "That ship has sailed." And I disagree. I think the four saddest words are, "I believe in God." Because you have no good reason whatsoever to do that. You can't prove that your beliefs are warranted. You can only rely on blind faith. And blind faith is just dumb. You've painted yourself into a theological corner where you have to maintain your faith because you can't bring yourself to admit that you've got no good reason to believe in the first place. You've never, ever had a good reason to believe. That's the problem. You have nothing. It's just silly. It's all feelings and no facts, and now you're boldly rationalizing your way around your lack of intelligence and reasoning by pretending that people are getting tripped up by irrelevant minutiae. No, that's your people. That's why there are more than 42,000 distinct sects of Christianity running around out there. Stop looking in the mirror and find your way back to reality. Stop believing in things for no good reason. Stop feeling your way through life and try thinking. It's really not that hard, I promise.
Bum